Hello everyone, I think this video is very important, so in order for you not to suffer my accent, so I decided to ask someone to record it for me. Enjoy!
Hello everyone, today I will try to derive a unified theory of female mate selection that will not contradict red and black pill. I will try to provide some details on the specific topics that I'm going to touch, but I'm going to assume that you are not just aware of Tomasi's red pill theory, but actually have read and understood it. Having basic knowledge of some common PUA techniques might help. Also, you'll need to be familiar with the black pill, which has been laid out by FaZe and LMS in a series of videos. Links to relevant materials you will find in the first comment of this video. Let's begin with the simplified layout of both theories. The red pill theory is based on behaviorism, and it delves deep into analyzing female behavior and arrives at the conclusion that females look for certain social cues in males, and based on them, they decide to characterize them as alpha fucks or beta bucks. Women are actively looking for these cues in a man and will shit test him to see how he reacts to gather more data on his behavior. While some men are born as natural behavioral alphas, others can learn to imitate those cues in order to fool women's mate selection process. The red pill has an enormous following, and many average frustrated chumps that successfully became pickup artists have a particularly strong conviction that the red pill provides solid explanation to understanding women and getting laid. The black pill states that women seek out beauty and testosterone cues in male body and face, such things as wide jaw, protruding cheekbones, and long horse face.
Here are some women discussing what they find attractive with no fear of judgment. There seems to be some commonalities between what they find attractive.
In our experiment, most women chose one of these two guys here as their future husband. But when looking for a one-night stand, they tended to go for this guy here. And there's a good scientific reason for their choice. Why do you find these guys attractive?
I like the cheekbones and the jaw.
It's definitely like the strong jawline.
The stubble, the eyes, the jaw.
Yeah. High cheekbones.
He's got a little bit darker eyes.
I can actually imagine he's quite forceful in bed.
Women find these things attractive because they're all signs of high testosterone, which means that the man is healthy and strong.
We tend to think it's men who are ruled by their biology, but it looks like women aren't so very different after all.
General leanness and visible bone structure, prominent high cheekbones, short fill trim, thick eyebrows, vertically narrow hunter eyes, eye spacing about an eye's breadth, assuming other traits are also above average, horizontal lower eyelids.
The channel that lays out those claims and provides empirical proof, where he creates a fake account using pictures of male models and behaves as an insecure chump in conversations with women, none of which, by the way, are initiated by him. Still, women send him their phone numbers, and some actually beg him to go out with them on a date.
I ran a fake but believable dating profile on online dating site Plenty of Fish or POF, using pictures of a good-looking male model. I named him Carl. Within minutes of the profile going live, Carl was inundated with women messaging him. He averaged a new unsolicited message about every 10 minutes. The opening message was usually a reference to his good looks.
You're hot, so gorgeous. Hello, handsome.
Black pillars sometimes critique PUAs by saying that the pickup artists are good looking and all their success is due to their looks, not because of their game, and all the fuss is about cheating chumps out of their money. Both theories seem to be intuitively correct to some extent, and both provide empirical evidence of being correct, but they seem to contradict each other regarding the criteria that is used to evaluate men as a short-term sexual partner. Let's try to bridge them. The naive solution would be that the truth lies in the middle. That is, your face and general beauty do have a significant influence on how many alpha cues you are expected to broadcast behaviorally, and your body does the rest. We will be looking at these traits as independent variables at first, and then try to unite them into one fitness function, and combining them into the Baldwin effect. James Mark Baldwin, an American philosopher, Baldwin's contribution to modern synthesis, the modern theory of evolution, placed him at the heart of controversies in the fields of evolutionary psychology. A reminder, red pill is based on evolutionary and behavioral psychology. The Baldwin effect describes the effect of learned behavior on evolution and genetic fitness. The effect states that an organism's ability to learn new behaviors will affect its reproductive success, and will therefore have an effect on the genetic makeup of its species through natural selection. For a simple enough example, suppose a species is threatened by a new predator, and there is a behavior that makes it more difficult for the predator to kill individuals of the species. Individuals who learn this behavior more quickly will obviously be at an advantage. As time goes on, the ability to learn the behavior will improve by genetic selection, and at some point, it will seem to be an instinct. Baldwin specifically focuses on a behavior that was not genetically inherited from parents, but was learned during the lifetime of the subject. In 2009, empirical evidence for the Baldwin effect was provided from the colonization of North America by the house finch, but before that, in 1987, Geoffrey Hinton and Stephen Nolan demonstrated by computer simulation that learning can accelerate evolution, and they associated this with the Baldwin effect. We'll have a look at their experiment just after some basic introduction to the systems they used. One way to solve complex problems are genetic algorithms, where you encode a potential solution to the problem as a gene. As an example, look at these 4 numbers. This is a gene of an entity. In order to understand what this means, to decode the gene, so to speak, we feed the gene to the function that can understand it. In our example, this represents the location of 4 queens on a 4x4 board. The problem we want to solve in this example is to place the queens in a way that no queen attacks the other. The information stored in the genes is queen's vertical position in the column. First queen is on the 3rd row, second queen is on the 1st, and so forth. After decoding the gene, we receive a potential solution to our problem. To measure how good the solution is, we feed the potential solution to fitness function that measures and scores the solution appropriately. Obviously, for every problem, we have a different fitness function and different gene. In this particular case of queens, we can measure the quality of a gene by simply counting the violations. The less violations a solution has, the higher we will rank it. The way to find solutions is to create a population of randomly generated entities. You determine an objective way to rank them and allow only the good genes to reproduce and mix with each other. We are going to look at Hinton and Nolan's experiment step by step and draw similarities with red and black pill. The gene that was used by them is a string of 0s and 1s with a length of 20. The solution to the problem is a string of 1s. 1s in the string only represent the correct behavior, and 0s represent incorrect behavior. This can be anything in nature, really. Now, after we define the gene, we need a way to compare them. The obvious objective function would be to count the numbers of 1s and rank the genes this way. However, nature doesn't work that way. In the experiment, the objective function cannot distinguish between different bad genes. It can only tell if the gene is perfect or not. So if you have all these 1s, your score in the gene is 100. But even if you have 1, 0, the gene is ranked as 0 by that function. That is to simulate that the entity does not know how close to perfection it actually is. It will take 2 in the power of 20 attempts, on average, to randomly stumble upon the correct ideal answer. 0s and 1s represent human genes. They are hard-coded and cannot change through individuals' lifetime. Now let's introduce phenotype. The phenotype are question marks that appear instead of 0s or 1s. Throughout its lifetime, the entity has a limited number of attempts to become perfect. In each attempt, the entity randomly changes the question marks to either a 0 or a 1 with the same goal in mind. For all elements in the gene to become 1s, next, we introduce phenotype fitness functions. The less attempts the gene requires to hit the jackpot, the better rank the gene will receive. In other words, the less you need to learn, the higher the chance that you will learn everything there is faster. For example, in this gene, we only need to randomly generate 1 question mark. All the other symbols are already 1s. Probabilistically, it will only take on average 2 attempts to score the perfect score. If there were 2 question marks, it would require 4 attempts on average to become perfect, and so on. I have replicated Hinton's and Nolan's experiment and plotted the data. In this graph, you can see a run on a population of 1,000 entities that were generated randomly. Each of them has a gene length of 20, just as we discussed. The bars in the graph represent the average numbers for all the population. Average number of 0s in the gene of 1s and the question marks. For 5 generations, all the genes were considered as equally bad, so the parents were chosen randomly. Crossovers and mutations occur all over the population. In the 6th generation, a child is born with no 0s, only 1s and question marks. Since it is a lone entity, the average in 6 generations is not influenced by it. But when the program runs it through fitness function, it is the only one that has a high rank. As a result, the lone entity produces a massive amount of offspring, triggering a devastation among entities that have 0s in their genes, and increasing entities with question marks and 1s. Within 3 generations, all entities that have horrible genes are dead. The learners dominate the landscape, but they are slowly losing to genetically superior entities. In 2 more generations, at step 11, the superior genes overtake superior learning, and in 30 generations, the perfect gene containing only 1s is created. He doesn't need to learn, he just gets it. The experiment by Hinton and Nolan was meant to simulate natural selection, and in it, the whole point of learning was that in the end, this will become part of your nature, not something every entity has to learn from the beginning when it is born. Let's adjust the model a little to suit our needs. Instead of using zeros and ones, let's use a scale of 1 to 10. Next, instead of accepting only the perfect score, allow all those who pass the specific threshold. Those who pass by will be the ones that are selected by the women to be alpha fucks. The threshold obviously will be an 8. Because of OkCupid and Tinder data, if you're not sure why, check out Coltane's video titled Gender Attraction Differential. And at last, let's agree that all physical traits are worth twice as much as behavioral. This is the longest stretch, and honestly I don't have any data to support this assertion, so technically everything from now on is speculation. However, I would say this is an educated guess, since we have enough research data that proves that attractiveness is the single most important trait in dating for both men and women. If this sounds new to you, refer to the Wandering Wojak's video called Dating and Attractiveness, where he reviews scientific research on that topic. Now with this new model in mind, think of two guys. The first man was born with a good metabolism that effortlessly makes him slim and has a significant number of testosterone cues on his face. He works out twice a week and having a good build without any fat. We can rank his face and body as 8. All this without spending too much time to maintain his score. The second was born with a beta face and a shitty metabolism. Still, he works out 5 times a week in the gym and runs twice a week in order to reduce his body's fat. As a result, we can score his body as a 10. But his face is still a 4. He must waste a lot of time to maintain his body, and all he gets in the end is an average of a 7. Obviously, being born lucky is much more important, and simply because you don't need to improve yourself, you are already good. Same goes with behavioral alpha cues. Some men actually just get it. They innately understand women and do all the right PUA tricks, even if they themselves cannot explain what or why they are doing it.
Zan is the master of natural game.
Zan, what's up? Good to see you, man. This is my cousin Trip.
Trip, I'm Zan.
Master of natural game.
What are you guys doing sitting here? Beautiful women everywhere, a garden of delights, and you're sitting here.
We were just having a heart-to-heart.
Yeah, what about?
I was, talking to Trip about attraction.
Attraction's very simple. A man who likes women is liked by women. He'll be drawn to you like a moth to a flame. Every woman wants to be in a love story. What's your love story, Trip?
See that? You gotta create some magic.
PUA teaches men how to imitate good gene looks and behaviors and are comparable with men going to the gym every day.
How would you open up? What would you say?
I don't know. Hi, I'm Trip. What's your name?
And she's supposed to do what? Just drop her panties, spread her legs, and beg you to take her home?
Obviously, it doesn't happen like that. I mean, you know, if I wanted to get her phone number, I would compliment her. You know, I'd buy her a drink. Hopefully she wouldn't walk away this time.
Reality check. You do what every other guy does. Every single guy.
Yeah, I guess.
Let's think about it this way, okay? Let's say, let's say a perfect 10 starts going out when she's about 18. She probably gets hit on 5 times a day.
I forgot your number. What was it again?
Hey, beautiful. You mind if I buy you a drink?
Hey there.
So that's about 140 times a month. By the time she's 25 years old, she's been hit on about 12,000 times.
11,900.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, pay attention to what I'm saying so you don't miss the point. What do you do to stand out from the crowd?
I don't know. I tell her she's beautiful.
Oh, come on. Oh, she's beautiful. She never heard that before? They don't want to be complimented. They want to feel like they have a higher value. That's why you need to be from out of this world. You need to be different. Look at me. Just a little bit different. You don't want to be that guy at the back of the club with the striped shirt and spiked hair with a light beer in your hand acting like you're afraid to talk to any woman that walks by.
Okay, what does this have to do with my wife?
It can qualify you as an alpha fuck at the expense of your time. But as we've seen in this experiment, in the end, the real good genes win. A high physical score to a potential partner outweighs a low behavioral score not only because of the halo effect that attracted people have, but also because in nature, having a high physical score will create a positive feedback loop and increase behavioral scores. This was mentioned too by Wandering Wojak in a video called The Defense of Pessimism. When low behavioral score traits do show up in conversation, women would be willing to ignore those cues and hope that the problem will fix itself, because the high physical attractiveness of the man. Being beta may make a man an unattractive long-term prospect, correct, but women will be willing to push that potential problem away because right now he is gorgeous and she wants to show him off to her friends, which will boost her standing in their eyes, and simply fuck the guy. Just like men are willing to suffer borderline women because those titties, women will behave the same way when in proximity of good genes prospects. Now let's look at 3 famous PUA cliches: hit the gym, peacocking, and neg. Showing off your good physical score is immediate, whereas in order to show off your behavioral score, you have to at least start a conversation.
This is Sugar Daddy. Bro with the pickup, and he's a style dealer.
A style dealer?
You're the AFC.
AFC?
Yeah, average frustrated chump.
This is why the first thing PUA teachers tell you is to hit the gym and to improve your wardrobe, thus improving your physical score. Hit the gym has become the cliche slogan, not because it will raise your score up to a 10, but because it will raise you at least somewhat. If you want to raise your physical score, this is the only thing that you can do besides surgery. Peacocking, I would argue, does not raise your physical score, but draws attention away from your beta looks. If you have a bad case of beta micromotorics or some other visual flaw, this can help mask it. This is why it is sometimes effective.
Wait, what the fuck is that?
This is my peacock. Girls can have cleavage and wear mini skirts, then we can do this.
So, we're showing our cleavage, huh?
That's right. Put that on and just follow my lead.
Another thing PUAs do is neg women during the conversation. I would argue that this technique lowers the minimum score you are required to meet. Basically, a PUA can get the conversation flowing, and after a couple of negs, can force women to lower her score demand, while simultaneously displaying their high behavioral score.
Can you do me a favor, take a picture of me and my friend here? Oh my God, are you kidding me? It's a terrible picture, look at this.
That's a good picture.
That's horrible. Look, you want to see a good picture? Hold on a second.
Who's that?
That is my nephew. He's the love of my life. And yes, no, you cannot take his place.
Let's look at some numbers now. If you are average, this is a 5.5 on all physical scores. Even having an incredible game of 10 will probably not be enough. According to our model, you'd have to be at least a 7 with all behavioral scores at a 10 in order to qualify as an alpha fuck. This may be the explanation why women rank 80% of men as below average. If you were under 7, then according to our model, you simply can't fix your mediocrity with good game. But if the man has a high enough physical score to qualify as an alpha fuck, beta behavior can lower his score only so much. According to our previous assumption that physical beauty scores as twice as much as alpha fuck categorization, being a 10 on all physical scores allows you to have a behavior to be as low as a 4. In the case of our assessment of physical importance was incorrect, and physicality outweighs the behavior rate as a rate of only 3 to 1, you can be a 2 in behavior and still come off as an 8. Basically, if World of Warcraft orcs were walking among us, they would be more attractive than the average man. In conclusion, what I would like for you to take from this video is that looks are extremely important, but some visual flaws can be mitigated by a careful application of a PUA's arsenal of psychological tricks. Hopefully this video can be a future reference point when people argue what is correct, the black pill or the red pill. I believe I've laid the numbers pretty clear, and in my opinion they point to an obvious conclusion that any rational person could have arrived at by themselves without computer science. In any way, I hope you like the graphs and numbers. Good day to you all and stay vigilant.